Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Secretary Carter, General Dunford, for being here this morning. Last month, the President held a nuclear summit here in Washington, speaking about the need for our allies to protect their nuclear weapons. And all the same time, well, here in America, in our backyards, we're not meeting our own security standards. It's been made public now that our Vietnam-era helicopters don't meet the requirements to provide adequate security to the nuclear silos in Montana, as well as Wyoming and North Dakota. The Air Force has known about this since before 9/11. Given the increased risk for terrorism here at home, I'm concerned at how low the priority list this seems to be. The Air Force still has not decided how they're going to replace these helicopters, but either direction they go is going to take over a year. I think that's unacceptable. Secretary Carter, what steps has the Department taken to move this timeline forward? And when can we expect to see helicopters that actually meet the security requirements to properly defend our ICBMs?
Thank you, Senator. First of all, let me associate myself with your basic premise, which is we need a safe, secure, and reliable nuclear deterrent as far into the future as I can see. The ICBMs are a critical part of that, and for their safety, a replacement of the UH-1Ns, which are now the helicopters, that very old helicopters, that convey the security forces around the silo fields, as you very well know, definitely need to be replaced. They need to be done to be done urgently. I'm monitoring that closely. The acquisition strategy that the Air Force and the Undersecretary for Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics are putting together to do that. There are a couple of alternatives there. They're moving forward with that, and I think perhaps the best thing I can do is offer you a briefing on their acquisition strategy. But they are under direction to go quickly in view of precisely the fact that you cite and that Admiral Haney has certainly brought to my attention, also to the Chairman's attention. So I'm very aware of the issue.
I appreciate you. We have a very porous northern border there. It's a big country out there in Montana and the Dakotas and so forth. So I appreciate your support, and I look forward to a briefing on that, Secretary Carter, as well. I wonder if the Department considered activating National Guard or utilizing other resources that might secure the weapons until the Air Force purchases a replacement helicopter that meets requirements?
Senator, that may be a very good idea. I've not heard that in our discussions. I'll take that back and add it. I should say that the Guard, in general, around the country, provides a critical augmentation for us in NORTHCOM and also STRATCOM. So it is part of the planning in both of those commands to make use of the reserve component, including the Guard. And of course, the Guard has proven very valuable to us overseas over the last 15 years.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Secretary Carter. I want to talk a little about cyber attacks, potential threat to our nuclear assets. The fact that the Air Force can't physically secure our nuclear weapons makes me concerned that they can't protect them from one of our fastest growing threats that our nation faces, and that's the cyber attack threat. I've been in the nuclear launch centers there in Montana. In fact, they look like something out of a Cold War movie, and that's because they haven't been updated since then. In fact, some of the communications equipment was designed in 1975, critical communications equipment. I think, if I remember, John Denver's "Thank God I'm a Country Boy" was a top 10 hit that year. Well, I understand some older equipment may actually have its benefits. The risk of cyber attacks is out there. It's especially true with the communications equipment, because some of our nuclear emergency action messages and retargeting messages are traveling over telephone wires. I think we both can agree there is some risk in that. Secretary Carter, what steps is the Department taking this year to increase the cyber defense of our nuclear command, control, and communication systems?
Senator, I'm highly aware of the issue you raised. My very first job in the Department of Defense in 1980 had as its center nuclear command and control, and a lot of those systems haven't changed since then. The only good thing I'll say about that is that because they're not heavily computerized, they're not easy to get into with a cyber attack either. But we do need to modernize them, as you say, and we're investing a lot of management attention, I think, of the chairman and myself, and also resources in doing so. I'd prefer going into detail with that in the form of a classified briefing to you on the side. But your basic point, which is that as we modernize the command and control system, and it inevitably includes modern information technology in it, it will, of necessity, have cyber vulnerabilities, and cybercom's first job is to protect our own networks. And Admiral Rogers, our cybercom commander, knows that nuclear command and control is our most important network. Therefore, the most important part of his job is to secure the nuclear command and control system from cyber attack. And the chairman knows that, and we work on that. Perhaps you'd like to add something, Chairman?
No, Senator, but I think you'll see that when you say, what are we doing? I think you'll see it in two places in the budget. I mentioned the nuclear command and control up front, and the need to modernize that. And then there's about $6.7 billion in the budget this year for invested in cyber specifically. And I think both of those areas are going to improve the challenge that you talked about.
All right, thank you, General Dunford. On
The time of the senator has expired.
I'm the son of a Marine, General Dunford, so I got raised right. Thank you.